Okay, welcome to yet another episode of the IB Lounge YouTube series. My name is Marcus and I'll be your host for today. Students today are so stressed out. They're not only stressed out about their grades, but about their future. A lot of times when I was in school, specifically high school, I would often hear my friends stressing about what's the next step. What careers do they want to go to? What universities they want to go to? And what their life would look like in 10 to 20 years. And many of them seem to have figured it out. Many of them had aspirations to become lawyers, doctors, engineers, so on and so forth. But there's also a group of us, and I say us because I was in that group, that didn't really know what we wanted to do or be in the future. And today I'm here to tell you that I still don't really know what I want to do or be in the future. And I'm already 23. I'm already in university in my third year, and this question is still something that I struggle with. So if you're 18 years old and watching this, I'm here to tell you that number one, it's normal. Number two, it happens to a lot of people. And number three, there are people that are my age or even older that still haven't figured it out. So relax. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't be asking that question or you shouldn't be stressing out about it. I think a little bit of pressure and stress is definitely helpful. You need to have it in the back of your mind to think about what you actually want to do, but that's a bit different from being stressed and being scared of not knowing the answer. So how does having it at the back of your mind actually help you? Well, you need to actually take action in order to resolve this question. And one thing that I've been doing that I would also strongly advocate is to try new things. You wouldn't know whether you actually like something or dislike something until you actually try it. And thus, you should actually explore more when you are actually unsure about what you want to do or be. And this can actually take many forms. So some people, they like to do internships. Some people, they like to go all in and maybe start a business like myself. Some people, they like to do projects for certain companies. And others, they might like to do things like case competitions or joining voluntary welfare organizations. All these ways will actually help you to expose yourself to new things, new careers, new industries, and make you have a better understanding. And even if you don't fit those industries or careers, at least you know now that that's not for you. So take more time to explore the world, to actually explore these different industries, these different careers, and maybe at the end of the day, you won't have the full picture, but you will have a clearer picture. So let me give you some examples of things that I tried during these past few years between when I was in the IBDP and now when I'm in university. So like I mentioned, when I was in the IBDP, I actually didn't really know what I wanted to be or to do. So one of the things that I did was to start to talk to people. One of the aspirations that I had or potentially had was to actually become an educator. I would actually talk to my teachers about how their lives were. What were their working hours? What did they do on a daily basis? How did they feel about this job? These are some things that when you ask them, they will be able to share with you, and thus you'll be able to have a clearer idea about whether that's for you or not. So during school, I also participated in what in Singapore is called CCAs, which are kind of like co-curricular activities whereby you would do things outside of academics like sports or joining clubs or things like that. So I joined a club and I was quite invested in it. It was actually a social entrepreneurship club. So being in this club, it actually helped me to learn more about things like leadership, things like working with people. And that in itself also gives me an indication about what I might or may not like to do in the future. For example, if after that experience I realized that I don't like to work with people, then maybe a job that would have that nature would be more suited for me. But of course, I do actually enjoy working with people, so that also helped me to find my passion in doing projects with other people. When I joined this club, I was also exposed to voluntary welfare organizations in Singapore. Some of this included the bone marrow donor program and other foundations like that. So during these interactions, I actually got to know more about what these organizations did and what the people in these organizations did. So that actually helped me to gain a better understanding as well about whether working in such organizations is actually suited for me. And truth to be told, it's not really my thing. After university, I actually had to go to national service. All Singaporean males actually have to do so, and I enlisted into the Navy. So this was actually quite interesting for me because oftentimes you don't really think of yourself, working in the military, but having to actually go for the military conscription was actually very insightful for me because I got to see what the military life was. So I took it as more of a blessing than a compulsory thing, and I really immersed myself in the experience to get to know more about how the military life is like and whether that's for me. And I actually found that it was really meaningful. And thus I actually did try to sign on as in make it a full-time career, but due to certain injuries I wasn't able to. But you never know until you try, and although I didn't manage to try it full-time, I knew inside that I had actually tried my best and I would have no regrets, because if I look back 10 years later, I wouldn't have regretted saying that, oh, I wish I had tried for the military. That is not one of my regrets. So after NS or national service, I actually was still unsure about what I wanted to do or be. And in fact, that was already the time where I had to choose what I wanted to study in university. So I still didn't really know, and I decided to just go for a more general degree in accountancy because that was what my parents did. So I wanted to see whether that life suited me. And after going into accountancy, I realized as well that that's not really for me. I have no hate for accountants, but it's just really not for me. But having gone through about a year or so of doing accountancy, I actually had a better understanding of what accountants learn and the job scope of an accountant. And because of that, I knew that it's not for me. And even now, when I have to think about what I want to be, I can tell you that it's not really in line with what I'm learning in school. So in school, I'm actually a business student specializing in finance. And if you ask me if I want to go into the finance industry, my answer to you is I'm not too sure yet, but I do find it very interesting. So, how did I actually start IB Lounge? That's a question with a very long answer, but it also has to do with today's theme of not really knowing what I want to do or be. So I started IB Lounge because I myself am someone who likes to fix problems. I like to solve needs that people have, and I know that sounds a bit cliche, but I've been actually doing such things since I was young. I had multiple small businesses, like really small, but they still made money. And IB Lounge is one of them that basically took off much further than I expected. So IB Lounge was actually started because I was once an IBDP student like yourself, and I found that there was a lack of external help for IB students. So I created this to actually help link mentors, which are seniors that have graduated from the IB program and done well, with students that are lost and stuck in the IB program right now. So by fulfilling this need, it actually also blossomed into a fully running business right now, and I'm still doing it. But this experience also helps me to really understand what a business owner goes through and what someone in the education industry may go through as well. So in a sense, this is also a testing ground for me as to whether I want to go into the education field. And something more interesting is that some of our tutors are also aspiring educators. So by actually going down this field, they themselves are exposing themselves to these experiences, and thus they would be able to make a more informed decision about whether they want to continue being an educator or not. So to sum up, if you don't know what you're doing, don't worry. That's probably more than half of the people in the world. You might have friends around you that have great aspirations and who already know what they want to do. That's fine. That's perfectly normal, and you shouldn't compare yourself with them. Instead, Acknowledge that you are the kind of person that has still yet to find his or her calling, and to take that opportunity to actually explore the world and to explore different career types. And eventually, maybe you'll find something that you're truly passionate about. Even if you don't find out after university, I've heard many stories of people actually finding their way only when they are 30 and 40 years old. And how they do this is actually by first immersing themselves in a starting job, going to different departments, changing jobs, climbing up the ladder, and so on and so forth. And many of these people actually find their calling when they are much older. Some even change direction completely, going from something from like a corporate job to, opening their own cafes. Life is just so unpredictable, so don't stress out too much about it. Alright, so I hope that advice has been good. I hope that you are less stressed about it now. And, I tend to get stressed as well, but it's just how it is, right? We are still all finding our own way. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, remember to give it a like and a subscribe and maybe a share to someone that needs to hear this. And if you have any other questions for me for anything, really anything, be it the IBDP or life after the IBDP, do leave them down in the comment section below. If not, that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next episode.